Good morning, Southern Illinois. You are listening to Isn't It Queer on WDBX, FM 91.1, community radio serving the Southern Illinois region. This is Jonny, soon to be joined by Heather, and we are recording this show on a Tuesday afternoon before it goes out on a Wednesday morning. Well, we're a little bit worn down and weary on the other side of some serious heat here in Southern Illinois, but we're holding up. We're going to make it through, and we're going to have a little bit of pride even after June. Even almost as August is about to begin. Oh my goodness, where did July go? We're going to weigh in on some international pride festivities in the first half of the show, acknowledging that a tragedy happened at the pride festivities in Berlin, but also taking time to sort of think about what that really means and what that indicates, especially in the context of other pride festivities in and around Europe, and what they mean and what they offer in terms of thinking about pride and why we do pride, and why the protests, even when they're violent against pride, indicate the reason for pride. In the back half of the show, we want to show that some of those protests, well, really all of those protests against trans people and queer people, are ultimately in service of patriarchy, of a patriarchal system that is deeply misogynist, and that criticisms of people's queerness and their transness, their sexuality and their gender identity are at its core an attempt to impose a dominant hierarchy based on patriarchy. We have several examples to show how we get there, and it is a thick show, so I think we should dive right in. I am really, really tired.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't really been sleeping great because heat wave.
Yeah.
You don't sleep well in heat waves.
Especially if you don't have air conditioning.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah. I just got a text from my partner, and we have it back now.
Oh.
But yeah, the last couple of nights.
Which of the cats switched it off?
Apparently it was the thermostat,
Like thermostat?
Yeah, the thermostat short-circuited or something, died. And
Well, that's rude.
Yeah, and sort of you could maybe change it yourself, but it's a little bit tricky with the wiring. And
it is. Having done one of those before, I'd rather have someone else do it.
We got somebody in, and I just got a text message that it's happening. The house is cooling down. He took a nap because we had to get it all ready for
people. Took a nap?
Oh, yeah. He was stressed out about
I mean,
sleeping in the heat and getting ready for maintenance and all of that kind of stuff. So it's brutal. It's been brutal down here.
Boiling alive is never as much fun as people think.
Mm-hmm. I was worried about the kitties, but it turns out they actually really liked it.
Yeah, cats are obnoxious that way.
They like warmth.
Our cats are like, oh, let's go outside. We're like, it feels like it's 115, and our cats are like inconsequential.
Yeah.
And we're like, if we go out there, we're going to burst into flames and die. And the cats are like, and? I'm like,
it's sunny and nice. I want to go lie in the sun and stretch out and spread my belly to the sky and be all feline and love it. And I'm like, yeah. Okay.
We're like, no, we prefer air conditioning, one of the great inventions of humanity.
I think the cats are smart and wise. We would have our windows open at night, and of course, Frida, because she got out one night from the window being open, wanted to constantly be climbing up onto the windows to try and climb out. And it's like, girl, no, the screen's not going to let you do that. Well, why don't you open the one without the screen? Which one would that be? I want it.
Because we've met you.
I know. Oh, queer children.
Yes.
Kitties are queer children, and more ways than one.
Indeed.
I have been having a hard time keeping up with the news, in part because the one that I checked in on coming into the weekend really distressed me. Now, we're out of Pride Month, but as we like to remind people, especially here in Carbondale, Pride doesn't just happen in June. It happens all over the year, all over the world.
Yeah, I mean, you should be proud
all the
constantly.
Time. Yeah. And if you try to compress all of the gay rights activism celebrations and identity celebrations into 1 month, oh my God, that's exhausting. And June is already well full. It's a bit much. So things have been continuing to happen, including in places like Berlin.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it was a fabulous, wonderful pride as usual. They were doing an amazing thing as you might imagine in Germany they would.
Yeah, I mean, German parties are pretty intense.
Yeah.
Having lived there, like Fasching and they get hard.
Yeah, all the good stories about German engagement with identity and freedom and the right to be who you are and all that kind of stuff. Not the stories that we have about the 40s and the 30s. Nope. Germany is very different now.
Very different.
And in ways that we really value, except some people don't. And so it was attacked.
Yeah, and the particular person who attacked it they're like, I'm a jihadist. And I'm like, okay.
Abdul Balaut.
Yeah, and to remind people, the word jihad literally just means struggle.
Yeah. So a jihadist, fervent believer in Islam.
Fervent believer in some segment of Islam.
Sure. Yeah.
Because like Christianity, Islam is a very large religion with very many subsectors. Mm-hmm. And one of which is essentially terrorist Islam, and they really enjoy that. Yeah. That's the Wahhabi branch. And you don't want the Wahhabi branch of Islam being around you, but Shia, Sunni, Sufi, some of the other smaller groups, not bad at all.
Yeah. I mean, we sometimes, when we're being bigoted towards other people's religions and other people's beliefs and where they come from and their skin color, run all of those together and don't see the difference. This is, by the way, has been happening in New York City lately as Mamdani deals with a petition to prevent him from being in any way involved in recognition of 9/11. Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't.
I mean, some of the first people to talk about what a horrible tragedy this were various Islamic individuals and people from various Islamic countries, because they were like, this is horrible.
Yeah. And there is no way in no fashion that Mamdani in any way supports 9/11, thinks that's great. That was
why would he? I mean, there's nothing about anything he has ever said that indicates he's like, taking out those buildings was a great plan.
Now our new CBS News in New York, with its wonderful conservative turn.
Oh, you mean Barry Weiss?
Yeah, Barry Weiss. Yeah. We're caught in a big lie about the numbers of people on a petition, especially victims on the petition, trying to get Mamdani out of that. So,
Yeah, and I could see where that's probably a conservative stance, because they don't want to show that a lot of faiths and a lot of people in the world were very much against that kind of terrorist attack. Mm-hmm. Having grown up in the 70s and 80s in Europe, where a lot of things happened, including generals being kidnapped by the Red Army Brigade and all these other fun and exciting things, I remember early heydays of terrorism, and it was nuts. And so predominantly nobody supports these idiots because terrorism is bad. I mean, I don't think I'm standing out on a limb anywhere saying terrorism is bad. Yeah. And just simply saying, oh, you're Islamic, you must be a terrorist, is terrible. Like,
it's scapegoating, it's fascism. It's kind of like, oh, you're transgender, you must be terrible.
Well, like before I transitioned, right after 9/11, I had what I called my airport T-shirt. And I wore it every time I went to the Nashville airport. It said, Ana lestu irharbia, which is, I am not a terrorist, in Arabic. So here comes this person in a black T-shirt with white lettering in Arabic. And I did notice that guards and stuff got twitchy around me. And I'm like, yes, the whiteness is really messing with you. I'm enjoying this. Because by and large, you're looking at probably a similar percentage of the Islamic world, being terrorists as trans individuals in the world. Yeah. It's a very small community. They're just really loud and obnoxious.
Well, let's back up a second here and first of all acknowledge Abdul Balaut. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Murderer. He drove a van into a pride parade, killing a person, and then actually apparently got out of the van and continued to assault people.
With a machete.
About 19 injured.
Yeah, 19 injured is the stuff I've seen.
Yeah. And so a brutal attack, an ugly thing to do to a festivity that's primarily about celebrating your right to be, when somebody decides that's too affronting to them and they want to come and do that kind of violence to make it stop. Ugly. Now, unfortunately, the ugly doesn't stop there.
No, of course not.
Yeah. The ugly continues when some folks opine, well, you got what you deserved because we're also homophobic and we don't think pride should exist either. So, yay.
We also think you got what you asked for because you let people come into your country from other places. How dare you not be a white Mecca? Yeah. I'm using that word very specifically because, a lot of these hardcore evangelicals want to turn their world into the Taliban world. And I mean, honestly, I don't think the Taliban's welcome in Saudi Arabia or Mecca because fundamentally, Islam is a religion of peace. Having read the Quran and the Hadith, it is a faith built on loving each other and trying to treat each other fairly. I mean, the Hadith was very clear that men and women need to be viewed as equal. A lot of the things where you see people not being treated that way is cultural, not religious.
Kind of like, what is it? How Christianity is kind of about love thy neighbor and kindness and care, unless you're, a Christian like Pete Hegseth, in which case it's about lethality and crusades and killing people and asserting who you are, or J.D. Vance, who's arguing with the Pope about how...
about what Roman Catholicism is. And I'm like, the Pope is the authority. Yeah. You're not.
But he really still wants to be able to go out and kill people and advance the American way under a Christian ideology, because that's in keeping with what the religion is really about.
Any extremist of any faith, and this includes the... Buddhist extremists, which that's a thing that messes with people, who hunted down Rohingya Muslims in Southeast Asia and basically chased them out of Myanmar into, I believe, India and Bangladesh. So, I mean, extremists of any faith are a problem.
So here's one of the twists on it that's also kind of aligned with the idea of, the problem here was immigration. You let in toxic terrorist people and they attacked your people that we also don't think you should have. But nonetheless, we'll deal with our cognitive dissonance about that and still pit one against the other. And that's exactly it, the double bind, the contradiction, that we're going to say people on the left in their support of LGBTQ rights have also supported the right to be Islamic and acknowledged the ways, especially since 9/11, but really even before, a lot of folks in the West are Islamophobic as well as homophobic. And maybe we should be against that. We should be. But here they want to say, but you did that and look what happened. This horrible assault on a pride event happened. And how are you going to reconcile that? Oh, you tolerant liberals on the left, when you tolerate everything. When you allow that to happen, those people start killing each other off. And it's such a ridiculous position to take.
It really is. I mean, I get that some people are like, I don't feel comfortable with the fact that you have a sexual attraction to same-sex people. That makes me uncomfortable. Well, okay, that's a you problem, sir. You should get over it. And some people are like, oh, you believe differently than I do. Again, that's a you problem. There is a massive diversity in faith in the world. And a lot of these faiths make some people uncomfortable. And when a lot of churches in the U.S. are pushing this Christian national ideal, then, it's causing some issues. But then you have other moments like one of the largest Presbyterian church groups, had a vote, and it was like 421 people to 15, where they basically stated that what happened in Gaza was genocide. The church voted on that. That's actually a big deal. That's this whole faith saying, you know what? we agree so overwhelmingly that 15 people are standing there going, yeah, everyone's staring at us. And that's the thing. By and large, human beings are okay with difference. It's when we start getting into groups and those groups produce ideologies that things start getting hinky. Let's go with hinky. It's a polite term.
Hinky's good. I like it. I think the thing that I want to just sort of throw out as being a really significant difference, a significant criteria to really mark, is that when we celebrate Pride, we are celebrating that it is the relationship, sexual and otherwise, that you have between consenting adults.
Oh, absolutely, consenting adults.
At the core of that is adult and is consent. And at the core of that is do what you will as long as you harm no other, right? Yeah. And so the harming part, if I give consent, you're not harming me. And now I know that ideologically some people who are against all of this will say, but if you make it look like it's a viable way to be, then you're harming people by saying it's okay to sin or do whatever it is that goes against my belief. That is not the same level of harm as denying people access to their health care, as denying people access to representation or to marriage or to whatever. It is also not at all the same thing as violence perpetrated when you drive your car or your vehicle into protesters or into pride marchers. When you come to a protest to protest the protest, carrying your guns ready to use them.
Yeah.
These are not harming others. These are harming others. These are intent to harm others.
And you're producing a visible threat. And some people might say, oh, but what about BDSM? Again, consent. It is all about consent. That community, they have, before you have a scene, as it were, which that also tells you something because it's sexual theater, which, okay, you talk about what's going to happen, all the concerns, all the worries. You have a safe word. If you're like, whoa, this is not what I wanted, stop. Right. But instead of saying stop, you say, whatever the safe word is, like say orange, Hegseth, anything like that. And
Hegseth is never a safe word.
Fair play. But you have these things. And so, yes, some people get spanked with it into their lives and they enjoy it. And that's because that's what they agreed to. And you do have some people who break that consent. And that causes problems. And, so if someone doesn't consent, hey, that's a bad thing. And that community tries to police that.
By the way, one of the things that Germany is well known for is its fringe communities, including a very advanced BDSM community that has incredible rules and conventions around formulating consent and making sure everybody knows what they're getting into and agree to what it is that they are doing. And so, yes, I think if we're talking about pride in a place, Berlin is really sophisticated in its understanding of how you formulate consent and make sure that people are doing whatever it is they want to do and not harm others, in as much as the quote-unquote harm that they are doing is consensual, desired, and part of the play.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing, but a lot of people, all they see is the outfits. All they hear is, oh, we hit them with a whip and these things, and they get freaked out. Again, fundamentally, that's a you problem. Yeah. Because this, if you're concerned, you should be like, well, are these people consenting? And if the thing is, well, yes, then it's, oh, okay. Then if they say, yes, you can do this, okay. I mean, honestly, compared to other things I've done, I've known people in the BDSM community, and I've gotten hurt worse in a martial arts class. Yeah. But again, I was a consenting adult saying, it's okay to kick me in the head.
Right. Yeah, if we were really going to broaden BDSM, we would find that in a lot of different practices, some of which people would be offended that you would call it BDSM, and yet the pain, the body contortion, the extremism, all of it is present. And again, as you're saying, in pretty much most of those cases, consenting adults making a choice that they're willing to take that chance, do that risk, have that experience because they choose to and they go into it knowing what they are doing.
And when you see stuff like this in the Epstein files where people are doing those kind of practices to minors cannot consent.
Yeah. Tell this to the Tate brothers.
Yes, they can't consent. So because they can't consent, it is therefore bad.
Yeah.
Same behavior, but this is bad behavior as opposed to between consenting adults.
And this gets twisted, right? Because the Republicans have just been doing this with the Rainbow Dinosaur book that they call inappropriate because it acknowledges that queer and trans people exist and provide in a fun, kid-like way information about the fact that maybe your friend might have 2 dads or 2 moms.
Because that's actually
that exists.
A sociological fact.
That is not an attempt to try and get the child who is reading that book to do something that would be harmful to them. That is not trying to violate their ability to consent by doing anything harmful to them as an adult. It is none of that.
It's not even saying, hey, don't you want to join in on this fun?
Yeah. And
it's saying this is just the world.
There have been purple dinosaurs and red dinosaurs and every other kind of dinosaur that was, not really a dinosaur that was sharing information about how we interact with each other and what we tolerate in our culture and accept about people. And hey, you know what? It's okay. It's okay.
To be fair, I did not consent to that purple dinosaur.
You know what? That's a you problem.
You're correct.
There you go. I learned your system. Hey, I just want to make sure that we note at the same time that this is happening in Berlin, because I think one of the things that you could take away from this is real frustration. And I hope you hear the sort of nuance and all of the different angles that we're trying to take on this is that it's pride. Yay, go Berlin. Oh, gosh. Somebody attacked it and made it all about an assault and death and an injury, and because they don't like that, and that's awful. And then the conversation on the other side of it wants to sort of further divide different communities from each other, including broad sweeping generalizations about LGBTQ people and broad sweeping generalizations about Islamic believers. And that is wrong. That is not helpful. That's not what pride is about. That's not what any of this should be about. What we do see instead is that, as we noted, pride isn't just for June, and it isn't just in America. It's all over the world, and it's kind of doing its work as pride. In some cases, doing its work as pride in places that don't want there to be pride parades, but people still show up and do a pride march.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we mentioned over a month ago, there was something in Florida where Florida said no, and the Floridians were like, bite me. Yeah. Again, in Budapest, after the regime change, they had a huge pride fest. And the charges that had been brought up against the people for holding one the year before got dropped utterly. It's a thing. And now you have other places like Romania. They're like, oh, don't hold one. And they're like, yeah, whatever.
And we will. And Romania as a country is not exactly particularly rainbow supportive.
No, and that's okay. But, I mean, governments are not the same as people. Yeah. Yeah. And everyone needs to make sure of that because, you can hate a government, but that doesn't necessarily mean you hate a people.
Right. And what's happening in Romania, right, is that people wanted to celebrate their diversity and their difference. And even though the country itself says, no, we don't do that here, they did that there with rainbow flags, with things flying, and they showed up and they did what pride is supposed to do. Yeah. When folks are protesting pride, when folks are telling you can't have pride, that's why you have pride. That's why you show up with the rainbow flags and assert that we have the right to be who we are because we're not hurting anybody, and this is just who we are and what we want to be with our lives.
And I mean, it's Romania. I mean, did they have little rainbow bats? For those of you who don't remember, Transylvania is part of Romania.
There you go. I would love a rainbow bat. I would totally, fly that rainbow bat. I like it. By the way, Turf Island.
Yes.
Turf Island actually had some surprising things happen in it. We're talking about England, also known as Turf Island, because the turfs are strong there, y'all. And even though they seem to be losing traction lately, thank God. They're not gone yet, so pay attention. Norwich, by the way, Norwich, UK, didn't want to have Pride Fests either, didn't want to do that. It's not a thing that we do here. We're more aligned with Romania. Their community said, nope, we're going to do it. We're going to show up
We're gonna do it anyway. Have fun.
Our queers are going to show up. Our allies are going to show up. We're going to wave some rainbow flags. We're going to show that even here in this conservative, kind of like, even though it was a small crowd, the small crowd in Marion this year who showed up and did a Pride Fest in Marion, Illinois.
Y'all are awesome.
Y'all are awesome. You're right in line with places like Norwich and Norwich Pride and the United Kingdom.
We want to publicly acknowledge all of you for just absolutely being badasses.
That's right. Because, hey, I like the big prides, and I got a big one coming up here in a second that I just think is amazing. But I also really, really value the small prides where you can't hide behind a huge crowd and where your willingness to be visible in your community, which is a smaller community, in some cases, I think carries a whole lot more weight and a whole lot more impact. And I am willing to guarantee that somebody in Romania, in Norwich, UK, Marion, Illinois, saw you and realized they're not alone and felt confirmed and saw the possibilities of the world as it could be and are inspired by what you did. And so, yeah, badasses, but also thank you. That is, doing that matters, whether it's locally or internationally. We want to note it and we want to care about it. Now, Turf Island,
yes,
it gets its name for reasons, but the pushback on Turf Island is also really strong. And so we want to note that this weekend, the Trans Pride Parade in London was the largest trans-focused parade in the world ever.
That's amazing.
I'm just like, right, yeah, okay, JK.
I can hear her spinning in her grave.
Oh, I know.
I mean, she's not dead yet, but I can hear her spinning in her grave.
Black mold, it'll get there eventually. But I can't imagine the frustration of them as they feel like we were making such inroads and we were getting politicians and rules and laws and reports and made up science and all this kind of stuff to finally, take a stand against this huge threat to civilization. Transgender people. And feeling like they were winning. And then what do they have? They are the host to the largest transgender pride parade ever.
I bet JK's little politician from that little region, I bet they were down there.
Probably.
That member of parliament.
Nicely represented. Absolutely. Yeah.
Because they were like, represent.
It was a place to be.
Yeah. And the thing is, that's amazing. That's awesome. Because, trans people, we're a little tiny community. But we have a lot of fire. We have a lot of drive to make the world better. And the better consists simply of, we would like people to be who they are. And if who I am is this and who you are is that, that's okay. Yeah. And my need to understand your gender expression is inconsequential. Who you are, what you believe yourself, that's what matters. I mean, because at the end of the day, for all of us, it's, can you sit there and look at yourself and say, this is who I am and I'm okay with that? And if you can, amazing. But too many people get caught up in stupid things. And like I said, politicians are not the people. The people are like, hey, y'all are quite a bit behind on the curve. We're just going to keep moving forward. You can just hang back there where you want. That's fine. We'll just get rid of you at the next vote.
Yeah. Oh, truth enough. And two things I just want to kind of wrap up this first half of the show with, and that is both of these stories, all three of them, four of them if you want. Romania, Norwich, Marion, if you want to throw it in there, I don't know. London, the London Trans Pride Parade, and even Berlin, where the violence came up. And the thing that my takeaway is you can fight back against it. You can be radical and show up with weapons, and that is not cool and not good and in no way condoned. It is certainly not consented to. You're not going to end it. It's not going away. In fact, the more you try to regulate and say you can't, the more people are going to stand up and say, we will. We're going to do this because the cow is out of the barn.
Yeah.
The genie is out of the bottle.
It's like trying to hold the ocean in your fist. It doesn't happen. It drips out. It squeezes out everywhere. And so all you have is a damp palm as opposed to the ocean.
Well, I think last week we talked about masculinity and hypermasculinity and its problem, and I kind of want to pick back up on that a little bit, not necessarily the hypermasculinity part, but let's recognize that at the core of all of this is not just transphobia and homophobia, but misogyny and a commitment to the importance of and the only way it can be, which is patriarchy, and the ways in which queer and trans identity challenge and push back against the normativity of patriarchy and its misogynistic ways. You are listening to Isn't It Queer on WDBX FM 91.1, community radio serving the southern Illinois region. We're going to take a quick minute to listen to one of our station's underwriters, and we'll be right back after this message.
Support for community radio on WDBX comes from the Carbondale Times newspaper, serving the community with news, sports, entertainment, and all things Carbondale since 1997. Pick up a copy of the Times each Friday for civic news, information on who's playing the Strip this weekend, an extensive list of upcoming community events, and all the latest on Carbondale Terrier and Saluki athletics. Best of all, it's free. And to keep up with the Times anytime, visit us online at carbondaletimes.com or look us up on Facebook. Want even more information? Give us a call at 549-2799. Thanks for reading, and remember, together we are Carbondale.
And we're back.
Yes, we are.
Let's change the world.
Okay.
Okay. So let's get rid of patriarchy.
Sure. I'm okay with that.
Why do you think most people aren't?
I think most people are used to it.
Yeah.
And so they don't know that there are other ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, a lot of folks would tell you, women have all kinds of rights today. Patriarchy isn't still a thing. That's maybe something in the past, like slavery. That's not around today.
That's fascinating. Because, we covered a story where a woman was made to be an incubator because she was brain dead and she was still pregnant. And they said, well, we'll just keep her alive until the child is of term.
So under patriarchy, women don't have bodily autonomy.
Nope.
Not to the degree
the
that men
Dobbs
do.
decision is also very clear on that.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a difference there that sort of privileges one sex over the other.
Oh, yeah.
But they get paid the same, right? Salaries across the board?
Almost. Maybe if you squint.
Yeah, 70-something cents to the dollar.
For white women. Let's be
women.
clear.
Yeah.
As you go through the different groups, it gets lower and lower and lower. And it's pathetic.
But come on, women have been able to vote, right, the entire history of the United States.
Yeah, that's adorable.
Yeah,
that was not a thing.
And black women, of course, later than white women.
No, of course, because you can't let people who aren't white have an opinion.
But of course, in patriarchy, we if you get married, you change your name to anybody's name. No, primarily the dude's name, and that wouldn't impact something like your voter ID and something like the SAVE Act or anything. Would
it? It totally would, because the SAVE Act says whatever your name is on your birth certificate, that's what it has to have on all your IDs, whether you're married or not. So it's basically saying no one can ever change their name ever, which is fascinating because I've known people who've changed their name because they wanted to.
Yeah, I don't know. But come on, you can't put something like our tendency to maybe go to war with Iran as an aspect of patriarchy, can you? That's just international politics, right?
No, that is also a aspect of patriarchy. A lot of it is, I want to show you that I'm dominant, and I'm going to go after this perceived weaker foe. And that weaker foe has essentially been like, yeah, okay, you're going to keep attacking us, and that's fine. You can go through all your missiles. But we've been expecting this for 40, 50 years, and so we already have a plan in place.
Yeah, so when I think you tout lethality, when you offer free testosterone to people who might be low in it because you have a vision of a certain kind of masculine body, when you limit people who aren't part of that key hypermasculinity from participating in the army, when you kick them out if they're trans, when you limit what they can do and imagine that they can't do anything if they're women, even though they do better on certain tests.
Yeah.
That would sort of suggest that we live in a patriarchal culture that is reiterated in our military forces, especially under the current administration.
Yeah, the current administration basically states that I remember when after Trump just got elected, people kept posting "Daddy's home," which that's a little creepy.
Yeah,
and
we didn't do that when we had a woman president, though. Oh wait,
we haven't had one because women have too many emotions and are fickle and might change their mind on things and waffle and. Or
men would never
out.
do that.
Yeah.
Because patriarchy tells us a man's not like that.
No.
That's the way a woman is.
Yes.
Okay. Well, here's the reason why. Here's the reason why we're running this admittedly somewhat sarcastic and frustrated approach to understanding why we are in fact still living in patriarchy is to understand. And this is it's not really that big of a leap, y'all. I hope you already understand it, but we're going to run through because some of the stories that we're seeing this week really kind of back it up, that the assaults on trans and queer rights really are at their core primarily misogynistic and assertions of patriarchy. Now, I get it. J.K. Rowling would probably want to punch me in the face for saying that, and she would want to remind me that TERF's name that we throw on them is trans-exclusive radical feminists. Fine.
But that means it's TERF, T-E-R-F, TERF.
Yeah,
I mean, that's literally what you've named yourself.
Yeah.
So,
yes, even though you don't like that name anymore. But here's the thing. I mean, they can call yourself a radical feminist, kind of like the way a Christian nationalist can call themselves a Christian, but you're fundamentally at odds with what feminism is actually promoting. And in fact, the assault on trans rights, even though you want to say you're allowing men to compete in women's sports, is an assault. It is a bolstering of patriarchy.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, TERFs want women's rights to be rolled back because seeing anyone as feminine or a woman, it's like, oh, you misunderstood Simone de Beauvoir. And I'm like, really? I mean, it's written pretty plainly. One is not born, but rather becomes a woman. She meant it, sociologically and various other ways, but it's still a fairly flat out, easy to understand statement. And feminism is about uplifting women, especially since we're in a patriarchy. It's trying to get women the right to vote, trying to get women the ability to have bank accounts, to make decisions, to actually be able to live their own lives, as opposed to whatever your your husband or father says. Because women were property until not terribly long ago. I mean, people are like, oh, what do you mean? I'm like, some of the rights were in the 80s, some in the 90s, some we're still arguing over. I mean, the Dobbs decision is basically women are not competent enough to make a decision based off of their personal health care in consultation with the doctor of their choice. Yeah. And a lot of it is because, women have softer hearts and squishier brains and whatever other nonsense.
I think the part that just blows my mind sometimes is, well, first of all, one of the things that your examples there sort of puts on display is that at the core of patriarchy is kind of marriage, at least the way that we tend to think of quote unquote traditional marriage. So the union of couples should be heterosexual. It should be a man and a woman. It should never be a woman and a woman. It should never be a man and a man. And it should never, they can't be married. That's not right. Right. And so that's one of those places where when we're having these ridiculous arguments about LGBT, I think we're kind of losing our understanding about how the thing that unites, among other things, that unite LGBTQ is the abuses of patriarchy. So, for example, Uganda.
Yes.
We flipped a story in Uganda about a couple, well, not even really clearly Two women, Wendy Faith and Alessi Diana Denise, Ugandan women, who maybe, allegedly, possibly kissed.
Okay.
There's no other real evidence that they had any kind of sexual engagement with each other, but it's rumored that they just seemed a little too close, and I think maybe they kissed.
So we don't know if they kissed. It's just a rumor, and that rumor landed them in prison.
But just for a minute, right?
I think they're still there.
5 months. Yep. 5 months in prison. 5 months in prison for allegedly kissing because of an anti-LGBTQ law meant to uphold patriarchal appropriate couples. And of course, they reported abuse in prison, and they have had continuing threats after the case has ended. And now that they're out of prison, they are out of prison now.
Okay. Well, that's
but 5 months still. 5 months for a maybe kiss. That's a lot. And what's it trying to do there? It's trying to school them. This is wrong. You shouldn't do it. Look at the consequences. And it's
trying to school everybody.
Yeah, because it could be you.
If you do anything that we don't like, prison. Mm-hmm. And not soft prison like Ghislaine Maxwell, but actual hardcore prison where people beat each other up and knife each other over whatever.
Yeah. Well, and this is not to say that in Uganda, same-sex couples who are male don't also face issues. Certainly, if you don't do your gender correctly, particularly men who are not masculine enough, that is also something that is targeted by their anti-LGBTQ laws. And so Uganda is living out its patriarchal norms, except
those patriarchal norms weren't norms until various evangelical churches went over there and basically shoved that stuff down their throat.
Yeah.
And to the point where now a place that used to be okay with people being who they are, because honestly, a lot of places in Africa were just like, okay, that's how people are. And now it's all these Western extreme right-wing ideological stances being shoved into them and people giving them money to make that so.
Here's the thing that I think also shows, though, this connection to patriarchy, and that is these anti-trans initiatives that are going to be showing up on ballots in the midterm elections. I think there's 5 states now that have managed to get something onto their election process about bad trans. Or sometimes when you're seeing the stuff that's coming out of legislations, like in Kansas and whatnot, it's pretty toxic. We cover it here a lot, but here's a phenomena that we want to be clear about. Most of the rhetoric, most of the struggle, most of the offense, whether we're talking about bathroom bans or sports bans or whatever, are primarily and almost exclusively about trans women.
Yes.
And trans men rarely figure into the conversation.
Or when they get mentioned, it's these rules do not apply to trans men.
Yeah.
I mean, flat out states that, and you're like,
why?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because, it makes sense that a woman would desire the power of a man, but how dare a man give up their strength to be weak and a woman?
Yeah.
Oh, the humanity.
But part of it seems to be tied to the idea of women as sexual objects too, like the patriarchy orients to, in a misogynistic way, a woman's primary function as a sexual being.
Yes, which is why they go to basically insert anything here that can be inserted into.
Ouch.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. But like, so the frustration here, the anxiety, the thing that drives this is, I'm going to try to connect with and have the women that I see in my life. But wait a minute, you're not really a woman. Oh my God, you forced me into having something that isn't a woman, and it freaks me out. And as a dude, as a member of the patriarchy and the privileged class, that freaks me out. And so I need to make legislation that's firmly against you. Don't think that because I take that particular narrative that I'm not saying that cis straight women aren't also really concerned about trans women, more so than they are about trans men.
Yeah. And you see it in all these different legislative attacks, and it's why Russell Vought and his cronies at Project 2025 are like, okay, we've pretty much dealt with the trans people in sports. Now let's get rid of Title IX and get rid of women in sports, because we don't want them to waste their valuable child-rearing years of between 15 and 18.
Yeah.
Ew.
Project
I mean, there's a lot of ew.
Yeah. Project 2025 also is pretty clear that maybe curtailing women's abilities to vote or to do anything like vote outside of what their husband or father wants them to vote should not be how we do our democracy, that a woman's vote is really the tool of her male owner.
Yeah, and these are the beliefs that drive a lot of these notions, and it's frankly ludicrous.
I just really
it's ooky.
It's ooky. I don't like it. And here's the thing. Like here's a story that's really flummoxing me. Look, I know that the competition for the governor's race in Virginia was rough.
Yeah,
right?
It was. Yeah.
And the counter position, the one that sort of challenged who won, winsome Earl Sears, was revealed in some of the debates to be very transphobic, homophobic, fearsome, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, having lost, and pretty significantly, that race.
True.
Mm-hmm. Have they gone quiet? Have they reassessed? Have they rethought?
No, they went, do not go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And so their efforts now are on getting rid of that same-sex marriage. It's got to go.
Yeah, come on, man.
And
Who cares?
Here's the part that's so hard for me, right? This is an African-American woman whose position is this way.
People have positions, and it doesn't matter skin tone at all.
And so this is the phenomenon. Like when we talk about LGBT no T, when we talk about how there are people in the alphabet soup who will try to throw other people under the bus or get rid of them because they're not really what the mission is about, they're kind of doing to me what Earl Sears is doing. And that is, I am familiar with, I live in a body and have experience in this culture of its systemic racism, its systemic misogyny. I'm going to turn my back on that for whatever reason, and I'm going to decide that the scapegoat, the people that really need to be assaulted, are the same-sex marriage people, and that's the big issue that I care the most about. And all of the issues that even a conservative could be concerned about in Virginia.
Of which there are at least 2 or 3.
Much more. Same-sex marriage, which the Supreme Court has said they're not taking up, which really isn't getting much traction, which really isn't polling well as something to do. That's what she's going to lean into because of that commitment.
It's her right. She is allowed to think whatever thing she wants. It doesn't mean anyone else has to listen to her or support her. Yeah. But again, she can, shake her fist and yell at the sky all she wants.
It just seemed different when it was Kim Davis.
Oh, well, cake makes for a much more... No, Kim Davis wasn't the cake lady. She was the, I'm not going to fill out your paperwork lady. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She got sued.
And lost.
Yeah, she owes a whole lot of money.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm broke. Mm-hmm. Except I don't think so.
No, she's hiding a whole inheritance that she got that could be used to pay what she owes as a result of that lawsuit, but she doesn't want to reveal that. But
that's illegal.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
I don't know. Maybe it's feminist because she's trying to hide and own the money that has come to her through inheritance rather than letting it be somebody else's, some dudes, because they want a lawsuit against her for opposing their... Yeah, I can't get there either. Yeah. I can't. I was trying really hard. I'm sure that somebody on Fox News will try to take that track.
Oh, they'll come up with ways to do it. Yeah. I mean, they have much more practice in human origami. Yeah. Let's say that.
Yeah, it is. Hey, there is an exception that proves the rule that's just been in the news recently quite a bit.
Oh, and what is this exception?
Elliot Page in The Odyssey.
Oh, where he plays a guy named Mentor?
Simon.
Oh, okay. So he actually has a name besides Mentor.
Well, for the longest time, the right was protesting this movie that was being made because Elliot Page was in it at all, along with some other people that they didn't like, Zendaya,
including
and others. Yeah.
Lupita Nyong'o.
Yeah, that too.
Because she's gorgeous.
Yeah,
and so
but the wrong color.
Her as Helen. Who can think of that?
Yeah. They were convinced that Elliot Page was playing Achilles. And
honestly, I can kind of understand. I mean,
okay, but they couldn't, because Achilles is really strong, except for his heels, is really, really strong and masculine and lethality, and Pete Hegseth would love him, and he wouldn't have to take the testosterone that Pete Hegseth was giving out. And you can't have Elliot Page play that character.
Did they read the same Odyssey I read?
No, they didn't read the Odyssey at all.
Well, clearly, because Achilles was not huge. Achilles was actually described as being fairly slight and of a feminine appearance. In fact, Achilles was so tired of a lot of the Greek warriors and butch dudes going, "Rrr," that he vanished. And no one knew where Achilles was. And Agamemnon and Menelaus said, "You, Odysseus, you go find Achilles." And he's like, "You're fine, okay." And he found Achilles, who was hiding as a princess in a court.
This, by the way, is not in the movie.
No, but the thing is, that's
okay.
part of the history.
Part of
and then the reason Achilles was in his tent through much of the Iliad and was really bent at the Greeks was because he was used as a prop to bring a young girl down to the beach, Iphigenia, and have her sacrificed to the gods so that they would get the winds to go to Troy. And Achilles found out after the fact and was really upset.
So what you're saying is, even though Elliot Page does not play Achilles in the Odyssey, it would actually have been pretty appropriate.
It would have been a really good casting,
Yeah, because it actually recognizes and understands some of the aspects of the character that apparently our folks who are calling for a non-woke, historically accurate Odyssey are not really aware of.
If they've actually read the Odyssey, they would, they would know a few things, but they haven't, because apparently literacy is dangerous and must be avoided at all costs.
Look, there are criticisms that we could throw at the Odyssey. We're not offering a review here for it. All I was really offering was, here's the exception that proves the rule, because for once a trans man offended the right and made a big deal. And what is it?
Even though he's apparently in 5 minutes of the film?
He's in 5 minutes. It's a very core moment in the film and later moment in the film. So it matters. It's at the core of the movie, but it's something they really got their knickers in a twist before they saw it. And now at least some people on the right are like, you guys, he's like 5 minutes and he's not even Achilles. Let it go. Yeah. But they're still freaked out about it, right? So much so that Elon Musk, the great champion of, misogyny and transphobia and everything that's out there that he can wrap his drug-addled mind around to hate on people to be a trillionaire for 5 seconds. He is offering money either for an AI or for Mel Gibson to make a quote-unquote historically accurate film version of the Odyssey. Historically accurate.
I am not sure which version would be more unhinged. I mean, wow. Mel Gibson or an AI?
Yeah.
We're getting into some really, really tough land here.
Yeah. And this is the part, right? So we're upset that this woman, Elliot Page is not a woman. This woman, they want to call a woman, couldn't possibly play a masculine character in a Greek Odyssey. It can't happen. That's misogyny. That's misogyny in a different form. No women around, still misogyny. I am a little bit over it, but also aware that it is not over.
One of the things that constantly happens in the world is that people get tired of nonsense. And they just keep going because life keeps going. And they're just like, you all can keep your nonsense over there in your little place. We're just going to keep doing our thing. And a lot of times it turns out that it's the governments, not the people.
Yeah.
And so the people have moved on and are like, can we not talk about trans stuff? Because I'm sick of it. Just let trans people be, let them have their lives. And can we actually deal with something like, actual infrastructure, the fact that our lettuce is making everyone ill, that our schools are failing, that all these things are failing. And instead of dealing with something important, you've decided trans people are bad. Mm-hmm. And that's...
And we should go against our campaign promises and have wars everywhere because masculinity. there has been a opportunity here for us to see what that hypermasculine, patriarchal, misogynistic, transphobic, homophobic, we don't really care about you stance gives us. And a lot of folks were really hopeful. This is America. We're going to make it great again. This is going to be wonderful. How's that working for you? Like you say, it's not going so well. And it's not going so well in part because it doesn't deliver on what it promises, because it makes it about something that is not really our lived experiences, not really who we are.
They make it about daddy. They make it about masculinity. They make it about
owning the libs.
They make it about owning the libs instead of, you know what the libs want? Hey, clean water.
Yeah.
Hey, clean air.
Yeah.
So healthcare.
Universal healthcare would be nice. I have to really, really hope. This is my only hope right now. If we don't destroy ourselves, which is also a real fear on the horizon, every day I see something new and weird and strange. Whether it's any of that, it is the proof that this form of masculinity, this form of patriarchy, this form of based on hate, scapegoating, and dismissing others isn't working. In fact, it's quite harmful. Yeah. And maybe, at least for 5 minutes, long enough for us to recover before we forget again, I guess, maybe we could learn from it this time and go, you know what, that sounds really good on a campaign, but it never delivers, and I end up suffering. This billionaire or trillionaire, if it's Elon Musk now,
well, depending on the hour,
doesn't really care about you, no matter what he says at the rally. And your hats and your slogans and your encouragement to hate on the trans and queer people don't really make anything meaningful for you happen.
Honestly, what do you care about? Do you actually care about trans people? Do you actually care about LGBTQ people? Or do you care about your family? Do you care about your job? Do you care about your own health? Do you care about your own income? What are you going to be able to leave to your kids, your grandkids? Aren't those a little bit more important than owning the libs? Or, you know, someone just has to be different than I am? Care about what actually matters, not what the ideological answer is. Because at the end of the day, there are more important things, like your actual life.
Also, if you're having trouble finding a consenting adult to be with you, hating what the other consenting adults are doing with each other isn't going to bring that consenting adult to you.
No.
So, yeah. And you can be as violent and as hateful and protest a pride march and show up with legislation and policies and rhetoric and everything to hate on people, and it's still not going to make that consenting adult that you can't find consent and be with you, because the problem is not them. It's a you problem. And on that note, you've been listening to Isn't It Queer on WDBX 91.1, community radio serving the Southern Illinois region. This has been Jonny.
And Heather.
Think Again Please is coming up next, and we will see you again next week on the radio.